All right, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Bacon Buddies is back again.
Hey guys, it's Marlo Ivy.
And I'm Chad, and we're here at Bacon Buddies where everything is on the table. And we got special guests today.
I'm so excited.
I mean,
Me too. Yeah.
I'm more excited than you are.
No.
I guarantee it.
Let's have an exciting content.
I win.
Yeah, you win. That's right. Thank you, Jan, for being here.
I'm thrilled.
I tell you, we were Marlo was just talking about how you're her mentor.
Don't start because I'll cry.
Oh well,
Don't start.
I mean,
you
Jan.
don't have to cry.
I mean, Jan literally, for those of you who don't know, Jan Archer, like, literally has paved the way for women in ag as advocates. I mean, she really is the person.
Yeah.
I mean, she's the past president of the National Pork Board.
Yeah.
That's just such a huge thing as a woman in ag for somebody like me to have somebody like her to look up to. I mean, I'm very honored that she's on the podcast today, and I'm very honored, to know her personally.
Yeah, me too. And the past president of National Pork Boards, we can get into that. That's big. But I remember the first time I met Jan was it was probably around 2013, 14-ish, and I went to Raleigh. I'd been asked to go on a trade mission with the Department of Agriculture. And I met Jan. Her and Deborah Johnson were sitting beside each other in I can't remember what building it was on the fairgrounds.
Martin Building,
maybe. And I just remember her being there. And, I didn't know who Jan was at that time. But, I saw her a lot after that because I got involved and Jan's involved. So it was, now I know who Jan Archer is. So.
And now we're BFFs.
Yeah, and now we're BFFs. Yeah. So, Jan, tell me something that you're excited about. Tell me something that gets you going.
Boy, there's a lot I'm excited about. But let me just tell you what's happening this week.
Okay.
So I started off, actually, I don't even know what day it is. Maybe it was not last week. But last week I got to go to South Lenore High School and talk to a whole bunch of kids about pig farming. And today I get to be at AgFest at the University of Mount Olive and talk to a whole bunch of kids about pig farming. That is one of the things that gets me excited. Mm-hmm. Not just talking about the industry, because we know I love the industry.
Yeah.
We know that. But talking to young people and letting them know what our industry is and what it can do for them, what the career options are. Because the thing about ag is everybody eats. Mm-hmm. So there is not a career that is more all-encompassing of the planet than agriculture. And if you are really good at social media and you are all about some TikTok, we've got a job for you.
Absolutely.
If you love being with animals, you don't love people so much, but you love being with animals every day, we've got a job for you. If you really don't like animals, but you love people, you get excited about the conversation, about networking, we've got a job for you. There is not a job that you can imagine that doesn't exist in agriculture. And because of that, it's everywhere. I have worked in 4 different countries in 4 different states.
Wow.
Because I'm a pig farmer. Become a pig farmer, see the world. And if that's what you want to do, that's the career for you. If you never want to be more than 30 minutes from your mama, and you live in Wayne County, Duplin County, Sampson County, then this is an amazing career opportunity. That's why it exists in North Carolina.
Yeah.
Because people that had farms needed a way to bring their kids back to the farm. They needed a career option, especially in our rural communities that are not growing. This is a way for our rural communities to exist. And we can do that. And not just because of pig farming, but because of agriculture. But in North Carolina, largely because of pig farming and turkeys.
And that's why we have Jan on. That was so eloquent how she just put that. And it is so true. We've got a job for you in agriculture.
Yep.
That is awesome. That's something to get excited about.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go to every one of those kids that are coming to UMO today and say, let me tell you about our industry.
Yeah.
We need it.
Yeah, well, tell us about you, Jan. Tell us about maybe your childhood coming through, and then maybe let's finish up with how cool the grandma you are.
Oh.
We hear that you're the coolest.
Yeah, we know, yeah.
It's because I have all the Nerf guns.
Yeah.
I did not grow up on a farm. I grew up on the shores of Lake Superior, as
Wow.
far north as you can go without leaving the country. And I went to Michigan State University, and I was actually a biology major, and I was considering either vet school or med school. And I needed a science class that met my science curriculum. I need so many credits of science every year. And also met my personal requirement, which is that it did not meet at 8:00 in the middle of a Michigan winter. So,
Sounds like my kind of student.
yeah. So I found this swine management class and absolutely fell in love. Taught by Dr. Maynard Hoberg, who then moved on to University of Iowa. If you're watching, hi, Dr. Hoberg. And that changed the trajectory of my life. And I got a degree in animal science with a minor in Romance languages. I think I thought that I would have a little piggery, little 200 sow piggery at the base of the Eiffel Tower. That didn't happen. But it did enable me to work in other countries. So my first job was working with Heifer International in Central America, and I lived in Central America for a couple of years, working mostly with cattle, some with pigs, but mostly with cattle. And then moved to Southwest Kansas, the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
It is not the end of the world, but you can see the end of the world from there.
Rural Kansas.
Oh, yes. Yeah. My Christmas tree one year was a bunch of sticks all pushed together because there were no trees there. And I met and married my husband there, Love on the Lagoon. And a whole nother podcast.
Oh.
I think that's a whole nother like reality show.
That should be your Valentine. Your Valentine show should be how many people met and got married because of the pork industry. And from there we moved to Pennsylvania. From Pennsylvania we moved to Asia. Lived in Singapore and worked in Singapore, Thailand, and China.
Wow. And
then the island of Singapore, which is very small, kicked all the agriculture off the island because they needed that land for people. And they moved all of the agriculture to China or Malaysia. And at that time, I had a son who had just had open heart surgery, and I couldn't be an iffy ferry ride away from good medical care.
Yeah.
So we opted to come back to the United States, and we really looked at what was happening in the pork industry in the world. And there was real innovation happening in North Carolina, innovation in technology, innovation in financing. So we moved here 36 years ago. My daughter was born here, which is why we're allowed to stay. And we built our farm, which a farm is roots. It's hard to leave those.
Yeah.
So, and we're here.
I'm so glad that swine class wasn't at 8:00.
I wouldn't have been making it.
What time was the swine class? Was it 10?
Oh, no, it was afternoon.
Oh, yes.
my God.
Even better.
Yes.
That's the kind of class I took in college.
Absolutely. And I didn't have a car, so I could ride my bike to the barns for the labs. Yeah, it was great. It was great.
So y'all bought a farm. Or
We built our farm.
You bought some land and then
Yeah,
started building.
we worked for 2 years. I worked for Purina.
Okay.
And my husband continued to work for the company that we were working for, DeKalb Swine Breeders. And then we built our farm. So like everybody else.
This was give me a time frame. This was in the 80s?
90s.
90s, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
We built our farm, I think, in 90. It takes a while to build it. We put our first animals in 95. We probably started in 93.
And what kind of farm were you? What were you doing?
It was a 624 farrow to feeder pig.
Farrow to feeder, okay.
So our thinking was we didn't need employees then. We could do that ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't a useful size after a while. When we first started, that was a perfectly reasonable sized farm. And now we doubled the farm and we are farrowed to wean, which means our pigs leave our farm when they're 4 weeks old. At 1,200 sows, we're still not a useful size. We're still not a great size.
But you were for many years,
For
right?
many years,
Yeah.
yep. And it's because of the economies of scale, and it's because people have a little better understanding of this now after COVID. But you know when you have your babies at home and they are so cute and they're so healthy.
Yeah.
And then you send them to preschool.
Mm-hmm.
And they become really cute little viral factories because they're exposed to everybody else. Same thing happens with animals.
Mm-hmm.
When you have to commingle those pigs with other pigs or other species as well, it bumps up the viral load.
Yeah. It's not a nose time.
Yep.
Yep. For sure. That's really cool. So you built the farm, and you got a son, Jay, right?
Yep.
And then you got a daughter as well.
Yep. My son works for Smithfield, also in the pork industry.
Mm-hmm.
When he graduated from college, his daddy said, "You need to go work for somebody else for 2 years," and he never came back.
Yep.
Because everybody else was nicer to him and paid him better than we did.
Oh, there's free labor.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And my daughter lives in Durham. My son has 2 children. My daughter has 3 children. When my daughter was 9, she said, "Please sell the farm before you die so I don't have to inherit it."
Really?
Because not everybody wants to farm.
Yeah.
No.
It is
Yeah.
a 365 day.
And that's okay.
It's absolutely
Yeah,
okay.
I agree.
It's
Yeah.
absolutely
That's
okay.
okay.
And I get frustrated when I'm online and people say, everybody should be raising their own food. Well, everybody can have a tomato plant. But if you're like on the 12th floor of an apartment building, you're real limited in what you can produce.
Yeah.
And there are people like us who do that for a living and have dedicated their lives to doing it well, doing it responsibly, doing it ethically. Let us do it.
Yeah.
Let us do
We'll
it.
take
We
care
like
of that.
it.
We'll take care of that for you.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
Let's talk, speaking of that, let's talk a little bit about, just animal care in general when it comes to pork production, how important that is. You as a sow farm, owner.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So we have moms and dads and babies. We have a few dads. We mostly have semen and artificial insemination rods, but we do have a few boars. Animals that produce well are cared for well. If you don't take care of your animals, if they're not happy, if they're not healthy, if they're not comfortable, they don't produce. If they don't produce, you don't make a living. I love what I do. I love it. But it's hard. You better love animals because the work is too hard if you don't love it. And they don't give you return if you're not taking care of them. And I'm wearing my little We Care emblem here.
Mhm.
We Care is a symbol in the pork industry of the ethical principles that drive our business. I think historically everyone saw farmers as being ethical, hardworking. And I'm not really sure exactly how that got turned on its head. I think partly because most farmers were like my husband. He goes to the farm at dark 30 in the morning because he wants to be with his animals before anybody gets there.
Myself.
By himself. He wants to talk to them. He wants to pet them. He wants to walk through there before the employees get there and the work starts. The ethical principles that drive our business are a pledge. It's not a certification. You don't get an old card. It's a promise that we'll take care of our animals, that we'll take care of our employees and treat them with respect, that we will produce safe food for the people that are eating our product, that will protect public health, that will make our communities a better place to live, that will protect our natural resources in all of our production practices. Those are the pillars of our industry. And it's a way for us to talk about what we do because a lot of people, like my husband, don't want to talk to people.
Yeah.
That is why they're a farmer. They like their tractor. They like their farm. If there are 3 people in line for the automatic teller at the bank, we drive by because that's a crowd.
That's like when you at the gas pumps when it says "see cashier," you're like, "No."
I'm driving home.
Yeah.
I will push the truck
Yeah,
home.
And We Care has been around. I don't know when it got turned on its head.
I don't know
but
either.
We Care's been around for almost 15 or 20 years.
2008. So there is a
2008.
pig farmer convention every year.
Yeah.
Who knew? There's a pig farmer convention
Yeah.
every year. And farmers were tired of being back on their heels and defending against things that they didn't do, being accused of things that they didn't do.
Yeah.
But they didn't really know how to tell people what they do. Because like my farm, nobody is going to shower into my farm to catch us doing things right.
Yeah.
Because number one, you have to shower in.
Mhm.
It's not something you do accidentally. There's no drive-by. It's very intentional and it's pretty onerous. It's not easy.
Yeah.
So we had to have a way to bring that story out and letting people know what it is that we do and what we care about.
Yeah, and those principles really they drive home the facts that
They absolutely do,
Yeah.
and I always say they're 6 because most pig farmers are my age and older. We can remember 6. We probably can't remember 10.
Yeah.
But it's really 6 because that's common to everybody. It's common if you've got 2 show pigs in your backyard that you're going to bring to the county fair. It's common if you're Smithfield. It's the same for everybody. I was just at NCA&T and I was working with some niche producers, some of whom don't have any pigs yet, some of whom have 2, and some of whom have 10. Common to them. It makes perfect sense for them too.
And it's easy to abide by them because it's the right thing to do.
It's the right thing to do.
I mean, you just do what's right and you meet the WeCare standards.
That is, you talked a little bit about what gets me excited. So I love working with pigs. That's not the biggest part of my job. That is what my husband does every day.
Yeah.
And I do that some. I work every other weekend. Sometimes. But I get to talk to the people. I get to talk to the farmers. And I know that lights you guys up and that lights me up because there is not a group of people who are more honorable and more dedicated to what they do. I started working for DeKalb Swine Breeders 100 years ago. And probably 5 or 6 years ago, we had a reunion of people who worked in Kansas. And there were like 160 people there. Now, I worked for Purina for 12 years. It's not the same feeling. It's not the same, and maybe if you're an accountant, you feel that way about the people that you work with. But I can guarantee you that farmers gravitate to farmers and they support each other and they are each other's cheerleaders. Even if they're in competition, I still borrow stuff from people. If I've got a problem at my farm, I call my neighbor down the road because he's a really good welder. We that's a skill we don't have.
Yeah.
And they're there. They're always there.
Well, you have a great skill with talking to folks, and that really kind of is the basis for your being the president of the National Pork Board.
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about that journey because you don't just show up at the forum and say, I'm going to be the president of the Pork Board. It's a journey.
It's a journey. It's a journey for everybody. And the journey starts with getting involved at the local level.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
It starts with being a delegate. It starts with working with your state pork association and kind of working through that. And then you run for the National Pork Board just to be a board member, which is a challenging process.
But tell me about the time frame. So did you come to a point where you said, I want to be on the pork board or did that just happen?
I was asked to consider running for the North Carolina Pork Council.
Okay.
And I was working for people who didn't value that. And I said, they're not going to let me do that because you'd have to take time off of work.
Yeah.
And they're not going to give me that time. And someone who they respected, a veterinarian, went to them and said, you need to let her do this. And that's really what started. Wow. And then I would say my mentor in that was Deborah Johnson. You mentioned her. She was the CEO of the North Carolina Pork Council, and she really guided me through other things. She said, you need to consider running for the nominating committee on a national level because you can talk to people. You can talk to a fence post.
Yeah.
And that's exactly how that happened. And I would say that is, if I were to talk to, in fact, tomorrow I'm speaking to the Duplin Women in Ag to students, and what I'm going to tell them is find your tribe.
Find your tribe.
Marla's part of my tribe. You're part of my tribe. They're the people that you call. They're the people that you're on a text thread when you can say, look at this amazing thing that happened. Or can you believe this happened? And they're all going to jump in and say, I cannot believe that happened. That was not fair. You are better than that. Mm-hmm. Or they're going to say, nah, that should have happened and you screwed up.
Yeah.
Your tribe has to be honest with you, but they're your biggest cheerleaders. Yeah. And they're who brings you through and they're who mentors you along your trail.
Yeah, that's awesome. You're part of Jan's tribe.
I know. I got emotional. Definitely. She's my chief.
That tribe you speak of, it is good to have somebody you can bounce off of and say, hey, is this am I thinking right?
And it has to be intentional because As a farmer, you're all by yourself on your farm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And if you are really introverted and you think, I'm cozy and I'm happy on my farm and I'm not going to talk to anybody else, you miss out on so much.
I know.
You miss out on information. You miss out on support. During COVID, we were all hunkered down in our houses. And one of the things that was really interesting to me is the people who were the most successful were the people that I thought would crash and burn, because it was the extroverts and the people who were willing to reach out, who had to make those phone calls, who had to network just to keep themselves sane. They did better. The introverts who said, yay, it's COVID and I don't have to leave my house, they weren't as productive because they didn't have to reach out. So having that group of people that if you don't reach out to them, they'll reach out to you and say, where are you? What are you doing?
Yeah.
I have not heard from you in 2 days. What is going on?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I know you got a question, buddy.
No, there's so much that I can I just want to drill on Jan all the time.
I know.
She is literally just so good at communicating agriculture that I want to be like, what are your 5 top misconceptions about
What do you
production?
think about food labels?
Yeah, what do you want people to know about I literally when I'm sitting here with her, it's like I want to take up so much time. I want to be like, talk about this and this and this and this and this.
It's so fun. I just can't tell you, this is so exciting. This is awesome that you're doing this.
Yeah.
It's been fun and such a learning experience, I think, for both of us. I mean, just, doing that. I mean, we've never done this, so it's been very fun.
Definitely out of my comfort zone to start with, and I'm getting more comfortable with it as we go. What were we saying on the first couple ones? We're and absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I still say absolutely, absolutely.
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 You never realize what you say until you watch yourself.
It's been really fun to just go back and see how many times we say
Yeah, that was one of the first texts we got was from Jan. I love Bacon Buddies. Great, thank you for starting that. So thank you for thanking us.
Yeah.
Oh, anytime. It is awesome, and I listened. I've listened to all of them, and I'm a podcast listener anyway. But when it's something that you are passionate about and it's your people, it's your tribe doing
your
it.
Tribe.
Oh my gosh,
that's right.
It's so exciting.
Well, look, I got a question I wrote down. Talk to us a little about. I know you teach TQA and PQA, but tell me how that's helped both producers and consumers. How the consumers have benefited.
Talk a little bit about what that is.
So, Pork Quality Assurance is a certification program for farmers. Really, anybody can take it. I do it to students. I do it to people in the office.
Yep.
And its initial focus was on food safety. It has grown, and it really now encompasses all of the We Care ethical principles. And there's a test. If you sell pork to a major packer anywhere in our country, they will require that you're Pork Quality Assurance certified and that your farm is Pork Quality Assurance certified. So it's kind of a 3-legged stool. There's an individual personal certification for
the farmer,
the herdsman, whoever. There's one for the farm, and then there's a third-party audit. Back in the day, nobody really knew what was happening on farms. And now we are required and ethically obligated to be as transparent as possible. This is a way for everybody to be at least at a basic level. And it focuses on exactly what we talked about, on animal welfare, on food safety, on employees, on environmental management, all of that. And then you're tested. And that certification lasts for 3 years. And then you have to be recertified because things change and we get new information and standards change. And then Transport Quality Assurance is specifically designed for the people who move our animals, because when you move animals, that's when animals get hurt and that's when people get hurt. And I have scars on both of my knees to prove that I did not always do it right.
Yeah.
But it gives us a common vocabulary. It gives us a way that we know. I know that you know these basic things. And it's a great way. I teach this class in Issaquah, Washington, to Costco meat buyers.
Oh, really?
To Kroger, to their meat buyers. Because when they have a consumer that comes to them and says, I don't want to buy this because I just don't like the way these animals are raised, they can say, this is what I can guarantee you. We only buy this product from people who are pork quality assurance certified, that are focused on animal well-being, that are focused on food safety. It's really great when we talk to our export partners. So 27% of the pork that we produce leaves our shores, and they're sold to other people. That really resonates with some of our export partners, that we can say, all of our farmers have been through this training, or we can't sell you their pork.
Yeah.
27, sorry, I just want to circle back to like what a good fact that was. So 27% of the pork raised in the United States goes to exports.
It is. It's not 27% of the pigs. It's 27% of the carcass.
Okay.
So,
who are our biggest exporters?
Our importers
importers.
Yeah, our Japan and Mexico are our biggest trade partners. Sometimes China. China's a double-edged sword. So strategically, we don't focus on China particularly. We do focus strongly on Mexico. Mexico buys a lot of our hams, like 80% of our hams, for further processing. Japan buys a lot of our loins. Our loins in the United States, it's 16% of the carcass, and it is one of our lowest cost pieces of meat from the pig, which is frustrating.
When you say lowest cost, you mean lowest cost to produce, or
lowest? It's what we get the least amount of money for.
Okay.
Even though it's where our ribs are, it's a big part of the pig. But we get more for that from Japan than we do in the U.S. because the U.S. doesn't value it. Yeah. We do like our hams. We do love our bacon.
Those bellies are staying here.
Absolutely.
Those bellies are staying right here.
And our shoulders and our picnics, a lot of those stay here. Yeah. But what really goes is the head and the feet and the tails and the offal, which is like the entrails.
I'm good with that.
Well, I mean, we go to Nahana and we can still buy that. There are places that still eat that. It's just not in the biggest part of our diet. So, but if we export that, we can get a lot more money for it. So right now, of every pig that's sold, about $65 of that is directly because of exports.
Interesting.
That is. So how many people, it's interesting that you teach the people at Kroger the PQA class so that they can talk to their customers, but how many people in North Carolina are PQA certified?
That's a really good question.
It's like over 5,000, isn't it?
Oh, it's closer to 20,000.
In North Carolina?
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. But part of that is because I teach it at NC State. They're not pig farmers.
Yeah.
I teach it in high schools. There's a lot of people who don't actually touch pigs, but they want it for the educational part. And in North Carolina, a lot of high schools really want their kids graduating with certifications.
Yeah.
And that's one they can get for free. And a lot of that will feed into their science curriculum. There's a lot of crossover. Yeah. So I do that a lot at high schools.
And my farm's been audited. So like when they go to they come to a certain house at my farm and they say, we're going to check the 3rd, 6th, and 8th pen. If there's any, and they walk through and they check those pens, it's pretty.
It's very involved.
Yeah, it's like
very stressful, but too.
Yeah.
So a lot of my site assessments, a site assessment is where the farm gets PQA plus certified. A lot of my site assessments are farmers calling me and saying, I'm about to be audited. Will you come and do a site assessment? Because that's a dress rehearsal.
Yeah.
Because everything that is in the audit is also in a site assessment. So if you do well in the site assessment, you'll do well in the audit.
Yeah. And it's important, though, for consumers to know that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's a good talking point with our customers.
There's somebody else on that farm making sure, we have environmental audits. We have pig audits. We have welfare audits. There are people looking at us all the time. A lot of farms have cameras on them all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess, I'd like to ask you, what do you think about the challenges that we face going forward as pig farmers? I know we see a lot of concerns from environmental standpoint. I mean, what do you say to some of those, I call them attacks, but
they are attacks.
Yeah. But,
no, 100%.
100%. Yeah.
And they're very agenda driven. We work so hard environmentally to not only follow the strictest regulations in the country, strictest environmental regulations in the country, that it's really frustrating when people accuse us of things that aren't happening. If there's something going on, We want to fix it too. We live there too. So
Right.
so let's investigate that. But when the investigations happen over and over and over, and we're exonerated over and over and over, and that's never acknowledged.
Yeah.
You know, the attack will be front page, and the exoneration is page 6.
Yeah.
So I have people say, "Well, I heard," and I'd say, "Where did you hear that?" I don't know, but I heard it.
It must be true.
I'm sure you did.
Yeah.
But it's not accurate. It's not true. This is what we do. This is what we do every day. My standard is I tell people we have 5 pounds of paperwork for every pound of pork that we produce because we document everything. If you want to know what the weather was like on April 27th in 2015, I can tell you.
Yeah, how much rain fell on April 3rd.
Absolutely, the paperwork behind it.
So it gets really frustrating and it gets exhausting because it is a giant game of whack-a-mole. Yeah. You think, oh, okay, we fixed this and now they understand. And then somebody over here comes in. And these people have a lot of money and we simply do not.
Yeah.
We have a lot of farmers, but among those farmers, not a lot of people who are willing to stand up and talk about it. And I get that. I really do. You get tired of being attacked for things that you didn't do.
Yeah.
But we have to be willing to fight for our industry.
Yeah, absolutely. And we got our swine waste management general permit coming up for renewal. So we'll be, speaking out for our industry on that.
Yeah.
I know whenever I have kids come to my farm, I break out that book. And it's like yay thick. And I say, this is what we have to document. I show them I have to get continuing education. I show them my records that I have to keep, our samples, our, go ahead. It's amazing to them. And they can't figure.
And it's also like, I feel like sometimes, or all the time, they try to use that against us when that's what makes us better farmers. Like, I'm thankful for my rules and regulations.
You know what I mean? Like, I will say, so, I'm old, so I know what it was like before, and I know what it's like now. I'm a better manager now.
Yeah.
I don't love having a hurricane come, but I'm not losing sleep.
No, it's not our first rodeo.
It's not our first rodeo. We know what to do. I know where my lagoon is, and I've managed to get to that point, and I know that we're fine. Did I know that 30 years ago? No. I would be nervous because when we first had people come on our farms and inspect our farms, nobody loved that. Nobody loves having somebody come to the farm and tell you you're doing something wrong. It's my farm. It's my house.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's my home.
Yes.
But now those inspectors are not the enemy. Now we're all on the same team. And the inspectors have seen how hard we're working.
Yeah. So
it's an entirely different attitude now than it used to be. And I am 100% agree. We are better now because of that.
Yeah. I don't mind the inspector coming. I kind of look forward to it because I got my stuff right. I'm like, here it is.
You kind of want to show
Me too.
off.
Yeah. I agree. I want to brag on myself.
And I want but I do want to hear a little positive feedback. You know, it's okay if you don't say anything negative, but every once in a while, boy, that's nice.
Yeah.
It goes a long way. It goes a long way.
It does.
Well, and too, my dad, for instance, he was a first generation pig farmer. He's 69 years old. You just weren't going to see him and aren't going to see him on Facebook, Instagram.
That's right.
Yeah.
He advocated in other ways before there was social media.
Yeah.
As somebody as a leader in the industry, but now you're just still not going to find
That's right.
him on social media. It's up to our generation
That's
and what
right.
we're doing right now.
Yeah.
And people like you who are out there advocating for the industry. I mean, it's just some farmers aren't the best communicators.
Yeah.
I mean,
No, and they don't love it. And
no,
if
they don't love it, and that's
if they
okay.
don't love it, we don't want them out there.
No, yeah, we need. That's why we have people in the industry that do
Yeah.
what we do to help promote.
Like Jen said, we've got a job for everybody.
Yes.
We've got a job for
Yep.
everybody.
Yep.
Absolutely right.
Well, I'm looking forward to going out and talking to some students today.
Me too.
Yeah, this is going
Me
to be
too.
exciting. I
I've
know.
got the barn in the back of my car.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Today is AgFest at UMO, and Jane and I and Marlo will be participating and trying to, talk to these kids about careers in agriculture.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's
And
gonna be-
this is just an amazing facility. And if you live in this community and you have seen what's happened to the University of Mount Olive in the last 20 years, I think it's mind-boggling. And I am so proud of this university.
Me
Me
too.
Look
too.
at this place.
Me too.
This is awesome.
I know. Who
Who
thought?
knew?
I know.
Yeah. Well, Jan, oh man, it's always been great. It's been great to have you on the show today.
I'm a little starstruck.
I am too.
It's so
I am too.
quiet. Like
Marlo's like, yeah.
I'm just in awe every
Oh,
time she's
Jan's here.
around.
You know the information that Jan has, just like the
I
carcass
soak it
cut
all.
out.
I'm like a sponge.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
like,
just
give
amazing.
me more. Give me more.
I wish I could retain like.
Oh, I learn
She
it every
does.
time I hear her speak. I learn something a little bit more.
I think I had a boss tell me once, if you don't learn something new every day, it means you didn't get out of bed. And I mean, I'm about to be 67 years old, and I still, if I don't learn something new every day, it means I didn't get out of bed.
Yeah. Well, cool deal. Well, we always end the show with North Carolina Farm Fact. Because we love North Carolina and we love farming.
So I'm going to read the fact today.
Okay.
And it's actually about the pork industry.
Good.
It says the pork industry in Duplin, Sampson, Bladen, and Wayne counties contributes more than $7.1 billion to the state's economy and supports nearly 19,000 jobs.
And we have a job for you.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we have
One of those is for you.
that's our new tagline, I think. And we have a job for you on Bacon Buddies podcast.
That's right. I got my Wayne. These are y'all both Wayne County peeps.
I
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
Duplin County peep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You are a Duplin County.
I'm on the
peep.
edge.
We
You
kind of
are-
claim you and Wayne, though.
Oh, okay,
I feel
'cause I'm
like.
Mount
I feel
Alabama.
like,
You got a
yeah,
Mount
you get
Alabama.
about. I feel
Yeah.
like you're a little bit Wayne too.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm glad to be. I'm multi-county. I'm multi-county.
Multi-county. You're a Renaissance man.
Yeah.
Oh man, thank you everybody for joining us today. You can find us on major streaming, Apple Podcasts now, Spotify. We've got a YouTube channel, Instagram at Bacon Buddies Podcast.
Yep.
And just
Thanks for joining us today. I mean,
Thanks for
everything
joining.
was on the table.
everything was on the table. Yeah,
Awesome.
good.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks everybody. We'll
Bye,
see you.
guys. See
Bye.
you next time.